become clear about this so that you can take responsibility for your experiences, or so that you can take responsibility, better responsibility, for how you're using your divine mind. Because as you begin to use it well, you will have fewer and fewer distressing experiences. Or conversely, poor behavior on the part of others will distress you less and less, because you're in a balanced frame of mind, which, because it is undisturbed, constitutes the presence of mind that knows how to be appropriate under the circumstances, and as a result, be able to be an agent for change, for correction. Continuing, God does not change his mind about you, for he is not uncertain of himself. And what he knows can be known, because he does not know it only. He does not know only for himself. Now, why would it talk about God not changing his mind? Because you change your minds all the time. And God is your measuring stick. God is the actual measuring stick of who and what you are. So it's helpful to know that God does not change his mind about you, for he is not uncertain of himself. That means that if you find yourself changing your mind frequently, you may know that you are not using your mind well. If your brother is the Christ, there's nothing other than that to think about him. There's nothing other than that to look for in him. There's nothing other than that, and I'm going to say this very carefully, there's nothing other than that to hold him to. There's nothing other than that to reflect back to him, even if he's behaving in a totally inconsistent way. You've got to find a way not to have to change your mind anymore. Because God didn't give you that capacity, not having it himself. And he couldn't embody anything unlike himself in the extension of himself called you. God does not change his mind about you, for he is not uncertain of himself. And what he knows can be known, because he does not know only for himself. What does that mean? It means that when you look at your brother and you see something distressing there, you say, wow, he's not very clear. Or wow, he's really in a bad space. Or wow, he's really a bad person. Or wow, he is a very dishonest person. I must be careful about him. Well, as you go through these thoughts and feelings and build up a case against your brother, you are absolutely disallowing yourself from seeing what God is being right there. You're saying that what God is being right there is not available to be known, because you knowing what he's really like, have to keep yourself in a state of defense so as not to be overwhelmed by or abused by your brother. Now, the only reason you would come to the conclusion that the use of your attention must be put to defending yourself against your brother is because you don't think that what God is being right there is there to be experienced or known. Because if you thought that it was, you really would get busy giving your attention to recognizing it. But it says here, what he, God, knows can be known because he does not know only for himself. His knowing is the only conscious awareness, true conscious awareness of anything that you can have. Anything else is something you made up with your imagination. So, when you get up each day and when you look at the world, you need to remember that what God knows, and everything you see is the result of his knowing, the effect, the image and likeness, the manifestation of his knowing. Whatever God knows is available and can be known right now, right here, by you. Because he does not know only for himself. His knowing is what you will find yourself experiencing when you are in your right mind, which is what? The Holy Spirit. It is nothing less than your right mind. He, continuing, God, created you for himself, but he gave you the power to create for yourself so you could be like him. That is why your will is holy. And remember, it is your will, your holy will, that you use either immaculately well or poorly. And as a result, you determine for yourself what you will experience. That means that you will determine for yourself whether you're going to experience the kingdom of heaven or reality as what it is or what you've made it up to be. That's all. He created you for himself, but he gave you the power to create for yourself, so you could be like him. That is why your will is holy. Can anything exceed the love of God? Can anything then exceed your will? Nothing can reach you from beyond it. Because being in God, in other words, inseparable from God, you encompass everything. You, as mind, encompass everything. Everything is being experienced in the singularity that is conscious awareness. You are experiencing the ultimate at every moment, even in what you call this lifetime. Well, you see, you're not in a lifetime, you're in mind, you could say. You are, for lack of better words, in the conscious awareness that is conscious of a world. And in actuality, you're not in that mind, you are that mind. That presence of mind is the constituting presence of you. It's what you are. Nothing can reach you from beyond it, meaning your will. Because being in God, you encompass everything. Believe this, and you will realize how much is up to you. Oh, that can sound like a humongous burden, responsibility. You will realize how much is up to you. It's like, well, everything is up to me. But you know what? If it's up to you, then it isn't up to anybody else. You immediately become free of the immediately become free of others' assertion of human will over you that you think you have to defend yourself against. And suddenly life has become utterly simple. There's no battle. You encompass everything. Believe this, and you will realize how much is up to you. It's like the relieving answer is, it's all up to you. It's not up to anybody else at all. And so I'm free in the quietness of the presence of mind that I am to come to clarity. That's the only determining factor. And so, instead of being a struggle with everyone and the laws of the community and the laws of the land, whether they seem to be just or unjust, all it amounts to is you being able, without all the distraction, to give your attention by your will, by your choice, to that which will promote sudden shifts of perception, miracles, the markers of awakening. Suddenly, everything has become simpler, not more difficult. Continuing, when anything changes your mind, when anything threatens your peace of mind, ask yourself, has God changed his mind about me? Then accept his decision, for it is indeed changeless. And, here's where you do your part, refuse to change your mind about yourself. Well, some of you might say, well, I don't change my mind about myself. I'm very consistent. I am very dependable. Everyone knows me. Everyone knows they can depend upon me to be who I am. But what you have to remember is that if this definition of who you are, that's so dependable and everybody can count on, wasn't arrived at through union with the Holy Spirit, then you've already changed your mind about yourself. If you constantly go around and you say, either I'm very competent and I do everything well, or you say, I really am not very competent and I'm always doing things wrong and there's no hope for me. I am dependably incompetent. Either way, you've made a definition of yourself. What you're saying hasn't arisen out of a direct experience of the place of excellence in you that is the presence of God, that you're able to recognize as the presence of God. And so, you've already changed your mind about yourself from what God knows about you. You see what I'm saying? Accept his decision, for it is indeed changeless, and refuse to change your mind about yourself. God will never decide against you, or he would be deciding against himself. The reason you do not know your creations is simply that you would decide against them as long as your minds are split. And to attack what you have created is impossible. But remember that it is as impossible for God. What does that mean? The reason you do not know your creations is simply that you would decide against them as long as your minds are split. Well, what are your creations? A design you made? An object you molded? No. Your creations are movements of love. I'm going to put it that way. Actions that have arisen out of a genuine connection with love in you. Creation is the movement of truth that you have allowed through. Actions that express truth that you know. Creations, literally, are whatever proceed from a connectedness with the infinite, a connectedness with the divine, no matter how limited the connection may have been or how unlimited it may have been. Paul is in the act of creation right now. Because he loves, and I will put it this way so it might be a little clearer, because as a human being, whatever his definition of a human being is, because he loves, he hesitates to act and listens and makes the connection with the Holy Spirit, makes the connection with me. And what happens is that which blesses not just those of you who are hearing and experiencing what is happening, but the whole brotherhood. Infinitely speaking, all of creation is blessed by it. Now, all of you in the process of awakening must come to a point where you don't depend upon Paul being the presence of love that constitutes the movement of creation. Each one of you must arrive at a point of doing exactly what Paul is doing. Going within, leaning into the place of excellence in you, and beginning to depend upon what emerges, instead of leaving the responsibility up to Paul and saying, well, whatever Raj says through Paul, that's what I'm going to depend upon. The element of trust must be brought into play as you lean into the Holy Spirit, that which is nothing more than your right mind. And then you must be willing to dare to act upon your knowing what comes from the Holy Spirit. Well, there are many who are so happy that Paul does this, because it means they don't have to do it yet. Because they don't know if they could do what Paul has to do, what they see as Paul having to do, which is not live quite the same as everyone else does. And who would be willing to publicly acknowledge that they practice listening to the Christ and give voice to what they hear without apology and without guilt and without self-consciousness? Well, I wouldn't mind listening to guidance if I didn't have to tell anybody about it. It's like saying, I wouldn't mind being gay if nobody had to know. You see. The reason you do not know your creations is simply that you would decide against them, you see. You would want to keep them quiet. You would want to keep them under cover, as long as your minds are split. And to attack what you have created is impossible. So, you see, what you would attack of your creations that you cannot in actuality attack simply cannot register with you. It's one of God's laws, meaning it's just the way it works. Even with your wonderful, holy will, you cannot do what you cannot do. And since you, as long as your minds are split, would attack your real creations are unavailable to you. You cannot be conscious of them. It keeps them safe, and it keeps you safe. Until you're willing to abandon the split mind. Continuing, the law of creation is that you love your creations as yourself because they are part of you. Everything that was created is therefore perfectly safe because the laws of God protect it by His love. So, again, if you're, through the use of your holy will, practicing a split mind, your creations simply won't be available to you consciously for you to attack. And therefore, they are therefore perfectly safe. Because the laws of God protect them by His love. Any part of your mind that does not know this has banished itself from knowledge, because it has not met its conditions, the conditions of knowledge. You cannot know singularity in a singular fashion when your mind is conflicted, and therefore, until you abandon your fascination with conflict, you won't see or experience singularity as it really is. It's that simple. Continuing, who could have done this but you? Well, is that a guilt trip? No. It's once again what will relieve you. If you alone could have done this, it means nobody else did it. And it means you're therefore not at the mercy of anyone else, and you're not in a position of having to conflict with others to overcome them to free yourself. No one else had anything to do with it, and therefore you are completely free to just change your mind. Who could have done this but you? Recognize this gladly, for in this recognition lies the realization that your banishment is not of God and therefore does not exist. You see? You didn't fall. You weren't part of the great fall. No great fall ever happened. You were and are and always will be only what you are, which is only what God is being right there where you are, right now. You, continuing, you are, neither behind the point of perfection nor advancing toward it. The book says, you are at home in God, dreaming of exile, but perfectly capable of awakening to reality. If you're dreaming that you're in exile, then there's no self-improvement process you have to go through, is there, to wake up? It's just a dream of being in exile. And are you in the dream because God punished you? No. You're in a dream because you chose to have a fantasy. That's all. And there's no process to waking up to the ultimate of what you are. There's just a choice to be made to stop insisting that you are what you think you are, and having ongoing curiosity to see the more of what you are that's present right here. You are at home in God, dreaming of exile, but perfectly capable of awakening to reality. Is it your will to do so? To awake to reality? Not yet. Well, no biggie, you are perfectly free to will to not know what you are, and to will to engage in a conflicted, polarized frame of mind which colors the kingdom of heaven for you so that you behave in ways that are inconsistent with the kingdom of heaven. You're perfectly able to, you're perfectly allowed to, but it hasn't and doesn't make it, it hasn't made it real and doesn't make it real.